I'm going to continue my commentary on this book right here. And we're going to kind of bat through another chapter here. We're now into chapter 3. And you'll hear a lot of times, you hear this in sermons all the time, about the mother-child cult. And this is about Semiramis and Tammuz. Okay, this is what this is all about. But the thing is that there's a little problem with this. Problem number one. Think about this for a second. Semiramis was supposed to be some kind of a goddess from ancient Iraq. Now that's in the Middle East. Now people say, well, Semiramis had blonde hair and blue eyes. How many people in the Middle East have blonde hair and blue eyes? Really? And then Hillsop goes on to say that the following goddesses had blonde hair and blue eyes, so they must be Semiramis. And he lists Ceres, Diana, Minerva, Medusa. Now I know Medusa had snakes for hair, but she had gold whatever around those snakes. Okay, and then we have Ardine and Atargatis. And apparently all these people had, or these pagan gods, had blonde hair and blue eyes. So what if they had blonde hair and blue eyes? Every one of their stories are different. And they have nothing to do with Semiramis. And even Semiramis would not have had blonde hair and blue eyes if she was even a living being. Because after all, she would have been from the Middle East. So this is absolute lunacy to start talking about the mother-child cult based on that belief. Now, the exact details are in this book, and I recommend you buying it and reading it, because there's a lot more than what I just glossed over it. This is far more detailed than that. Okay? But then it goes on. Alright. Now, I'm not going to give you the exact details. If you want the exact details, get the book. But the celibacy that is practiced by the priests of Rome have absolutely nothing to do with Semiramis. What they were saying was that Semiramis had a history, if you go by the legends, where she was castrating male slaves. Those weren't priests, those were slaves that she was castrating. So that had nothing to do with the priesthood. Number two, there was a goddess by the name of Cybele, and the story is in this book. And I highly recommend you reading it. But according to that story, after you read the dang thing, then what you have is a bunch of priests worshiping Cybele by getting themselves castrated and then dressing up like women and dancing around in sexual orgies. What does that have to do with the Virgin Mary? What does that have to do with the priests? Are those Roman priests dressed up like women and having an orgy in their citadel? I don't think so. See what I mean? This is Hillsop's method of reaching for straws to prove his point. And he didn't prove it very well. But like I said, that's the whole thing is in this book. I'm not kidding you. It's a lot more detailed. I just kind of glossed over it. But the thing is, what you need to remember is, just because a woman has blonde hair and blue eyes doesn't necessarily make her Semiramis. And just because priests practice celibacy doesn't mean they go out and get themselves castrated. It certainly doesn't mean they dress up like women and they don't have orgies in a citadel. It doesn't work that way. See what I mean? But the precise details are in this book, and I recommend you buying it and getting it and reading it, because it will definitely explain a lot more than what I just glossed over. But you kind of get a general idea of what's going on. Alright, I will tell you more in my next video, so stay tuned.